Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself. And what I wanted to do, I've been having a think. I've been having a think, and I was thinking, like, what do I want to do for my next video? And as you know, I've been doing quite a few surveys. Well, not quite a few, but a few surveys where I've been seeing what topics you'd like to talk about next. And I've been looking at the world and seeing what's going on. And as you know, this is global astrology, so I look at what's going on around the world, but also as well, of course, America, as we know, is a big feature. And what I wanted to do was kind of look at some of the overarching themes that I've noticed. And I thought, you know what, it's time for another archetype. Yeah, it's time for another archetype. Now, as we know, as you guys know who follow my channel, the first one of the first archetypes I spoke about was the prostitute. Yeah, in regards to the GOP and all of that other kind of stuff. Yeah, and there was some humor in that one as well. But what I wanted to talk about today is another archetype, another one of the survival archetypes. And for those of you who subscribe to Diane's tarot, but her courses and stuff, I'm going to be actually teaching on the archetypes on her channel for her members. So you'll see me, I think in May actually, but she'll confirm. Now, when looking at things and events that are happening around the world, and particular some slightly worrying trends and events that are happening in America, I thought I have to talk about this archetype. And the archetype what I want to talk about today is the what? The saboteur. Yes, the saboteur. Now, as you know, I use these Caroline Mace decks. Actually, a few of my clients have actually got the decks as well, and they're really useful because I mean, she's brilliant anyway. But the archetypes really are able to concisely describe patterns of behavior that we may be aware of on a subconscious level, but when we actually see them and they're spoken about, they become much more clear to our minds. So if we look here, let me just bring this closer. Hopefully it's not too shiny with my ring light. I have to try and kind of adjust that a little bit. You'll see that there is a person who is in a hot air balloon and they're holding a big pin. Yeah, pop. Yeah, letting the air out of that balloon. And of course, there's always light attributes and shadow attributes. So let's read that. So the shadow attribute of the saboteur is induces self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. Yeah. When this turns wherever this turns up as well in my clients, when I do consultations with them, this can also show how they've been undermined by other people as well. And then the light attribute highlights your fear of self-empowerment and the changes it would bring to your life. Yeah, so that is a key thing as well. There's a component here of a certain fear of change. Right, so let's get into the main body of what I wanted to discuss. I've got my notes here and on various different sheets of paper. And I thought I'll get stuck in. Now, one of the most common forms of sabotage is what? Self-sabotage. Yeah, we all know this one. All of us, at some point or another, have sabotaged ourselves in some way or another. It's very rare not to. It's very difficult not to. It's very easy to sabotage oneself, let alone when it comes to others. So what are one of the things why, but also as well, self-sabotage, it's when it's happening consistently. This is when it's a problem. Yeah, because it's kind of like lime scale on a kettle in a way. It builds up Yeah, if we keep self-sabotaging, what happens? It scales the kettle. We don't boil as efficiently. Life, um, it's more difficult for life to pan out in the direction that we would like. Yeah. So what I've put here, I put some notes here. So one of the why do we self-sabotage? Yeah, really, let's get to the crux of it. Why do we self-sabotage or consistently or self-sabotage in a consistent way? And one of my reckonings is that it tends to stem from a lack of self-esteem. Yeah, not feeling worthy of something or some kind of situation or some kind of relationship. Yeah. So if we think, for example, when it comes to, let's deal with the self-esteem one. Yeah, that's a very common one. You know, it's not easy to have self-esteem. The world is very good at knocking our self-esteem and our sense of belief about ourselves, isn't it? And this often comes in the form of what, you know, other people saying stuff, and I'll get onto that part as well, which is when people sabotage others. But for example, when we lack self-esteem, or a person lacks self-esteem, they may not even be necessarily consciously aware of it. It's not like, oh, I lack self-esteem today. Yeah, I mean, we can be aware of low self-esteem when we start working on it. But if it's still on a very subconscious level, what can often happen is this: when something good comes along or an opportunity presents itself, if we lack self-esteem, what can often happen is we can often avoid that opportunity, even if it's in our own interest. How funny is that? Because we always believe, or we're taught to believe, that humanity always acts in its own self-interest. And there is an element of truth to that. But we're complex creatures, and sometimes we don't act in our own best interest. And part of why that can happen is because we believe we don't deserve the fruit or the rewards of what could potentially happen. And this can happen in many forms. This can happen with a job opportunity. Yeah. An opportunity to what? Step up, perhaps. Maybe you're offered a promotion, or there's a job opportunity which is somewhere else, and it might take you out of your comfort zone, for example. We may find a way to sabotage that opportunity because we don't believe we deserve that opportunity. That is such a common thing, and it may even seem just obvious to say, but sometimes one has to say the obvious when it comes to these things so that people can recognize it. It can also it can also I'm just looking at my notes here. Why have I put that word there? I'm not quite sure. This can also manifest as well in terms of relationships as well. Yeah. A person, man or woman or what have you, may have had a long run of sketchy relationships. Yeah. Relationships that have been less than satisfying or fruitful, not really going anywhere. And then what happens is they meet someone great. Yeah, they meet someone amazing. You know, they're a nice person. You know, they're happy. They're settled. You know, they've got some kind of nice maybe career going on or whatever. Not always the case. You know, it doesn't have to be, but they're just a good egg. Yeah. And then what happens? They reject that person. Yeah, they try and put that person off. They throw landmines or spanners in the works. Yeah, or they ultimately sabotage the outcome. Maybe they do something where it undermines the first date or the second date. Or they get a few weeks into the relationship or a few months in and they start feeling very uncomfortable because they don't feel that they measure up. They feel less than. And then what happens? The sabotage begins, yeah? And this is a form, and many of you may be familiar with this, or many of you may have experienced this from others. And there can be a feeling of confusion where it's like, I thought that things were going so well. And often what can be the case is that person, they don't have the self-esteem to go forward with that relationship or that situation because they just don't feel that they deserve it, or it feels very weird and unfamiliar to them. Yeah. And we'll talk about the unfamiliar. But one of the common thing is that, oh, that person's out of my league, you know, they're too good for me, blah blah blah. We've all heard that one, yeah, or all heard a friend, you know, mention that or say that. So so I wanted to kind of like mention that before I go into some of the details of self-sabotage. Another form of sabotage, of course, is the obvious one, where people sabotage others. So when I was reflecting on this, when it comes to sabotaging others, yeah, what's that all about? And on reflection, sabotaging others, one of the components can come from a sense of self-entitlement. Yeah, a sense of self-entitlement in the sense of they don't deserve this or that. Yeah, they don't deserve that. I deserve that. That's my thing. Yeah. So what they do is they sabotage that scenario that they either feel that they deserve, or if they feel they're being denied in some way from what they believe they should have, then what they do is they sabotage that thing or that person or that situation so that other person can't enjoy the thing that they feel that they should have. This is so common. How many times have we seen this in life? And sometimes it can be the case that we may even be the perpetrators. Yeah, that can happen as well. Sabotage is so common that it's almost become a norm in behavior, and sometimes it just has to be called out so that we can actually recognize what that's all about. Now, of course, there are some very obvious examples of sabotage going on in society. So if we think of they deserve that can also mean, if we think of, say, like the GOP, yeah, I mean, my God, I mean, that certainly is a party of sabotage. So if you think for example, when it came to voting for the relief, not one of the members of the GOP voted for that. So what does that say? They don't deserve relief. They don't deserve that. They don't deserve a relief package. The American people don't deserve that, yeah, because if they did believe that, they would have done what? They would have voted for it, yeah? So, you know, it's these elaborate, almost really, in fact, brazen forms of sabotage. Another one as well, if we think of Georgia, yeah, the voting, disenfranchising voters. They don't deserve that. They don't deserve to vote. One of them, I think, I don't know who it was, but there was a person in terms of their opinions about what's going on in Georgia to try and disenfranchise people. They said it wasn't fair, yeah, that so many people were voting for the Democrats. Not fair. That's what that is a ridiculous thing to say. This is what democracy is about. If you've got policies that are popular or whatever, people will vote for it. You know, you don't say it's not fair because people are voting for whatever. You need to change, what you're offering. But it shows the mentality. It's not fair. Yeah. And what that means is I'm being denied. Yeah. I'm being denied. It's not fair that I'm being denied because I'm entitled to certain perks and privileges. Yeah. So this is what happens. We see this in relationships as well. If I can't have you, no one else can have you. Yeah. There's that. as well. How common is that? Yeah, particularly when relationships go wrong. Yeah, there's a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk, particularly in the British media, about what? Revenge porn. Yeah, what's that? Sabotage. Yeah, the relationship has ended or come to its natural conclusion, and some son of a you know what does some kind of revenge porn or something like that. This is very common, but it's extremely sabotaging. Yeah, it's one of the worst sabotages that you can do. Some people actually, take their own life over such matters, yeah, because it can be such an intensely embarrassing thing, especially in these days of social media, people sharing all knows and whatnot with one another. Yeah, see this in schools as well, high schools too. Yeah, it's a way of taking someone else down, and a lot of sabotage as well has got to do with power. Yeah, another one another egregious example or good example of sabotage is if we think of they don't deserve the truth. Yeah, think of that. Fox News, yeah, or so-called news, they need to drop the news part. Yeah, that's why I just call them Foxtrot. Yeah, because and Tucker Carlson and all the other whatnots they've got going on. So what's that about? That's a sabotage. That's a sabotage of the truth. Yeah. The big lie. Yeah. These things, these scenarios being perpetuated. Yeah. And it's a form of undermining. It's sabotage. Yeah. Trying to what? Sabotage the result, of the election. Undermine things, undermine people's beliefs. So we see how much the saboteur plays a role in society and life. Yeah, and this is why I wanted to do this series, was just to highlight these things, these survival archetypes, and how powerful they are. Also, as well, there is also, if we see, for example, with the police, yeah, what's going on in America, we see all that stuff with George Floyd and whatnot. So there are clearly a lot of people in the police and in other countries. I hear certain other people are dying in custody as well, which is what? They don't deserve to live. That's another one. And that's shocking to say, isn't it? But that is clearly a belief of some people. When they look at some people, they're like, that person, they don't deserve to live. Yeah. And there are people that hold those beliefs. I mean, we see it now, with what's his face, the guy that killed George Floyd. I mean, obviously, we'll see what the result is, but it's just blatant, on camera. He decided he doesn't deserve to live. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. Bam, sabotage, killed him. Yeah, ultimate form of sabotage. So, and I put my notes here, they don't deserve can come from a sense of entitlement. Like I said, when one believes that the resources of some kind or some advantage belongs only in your hands. The GOP believes that certain people should vote for them regardless of what they have to offer, which is nothing, just because. Yeah, just because that's the way it should be in their eyes. Now, I'm just saying the GOP because, of course, it's so obvious what they're doing. But this applies to all of humanity. We all have a bit of a saboteur in us. Most of the time, we sabotage ourselves, but sometimes we sabotage others, and maybe we might seek forgiveness or what have you. But I'm just highlighting that this is such a prevalent thing, and the GOP is a prime example of sabotage. I think there was another one of them that complained the other day, complaining that Joe Biden was difficult to demonize because he's such a good guy. Complaining about it, yeah? That's someone saying, oh, I really want to sabotage that person, but I can't because there's no dirt on them. Ah, poor me. How annoying, how frustrating. That's very toxic thinking, isn't it? Yeah? When someone says that and they actually admit that in public. Oh, I wish I could sabotage that person, but they're too sweet, they're too good. It's the voice of evil, really. Yeah? So what I was surmising is that sabotage is a reaction to a deep fear of change. In both examples, self-sabotage and sabotaging others. Yeah. And one thing that I think that has been proved ultimately true, they say people fear death. This is true. People do fear death, but my God, they fear change more. Yeah. As humanity, we fear change more than death, and we've seen that as well with with the big C. Yeah. When it comes to masks and this, that, and the other, people just like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care about the spread of that, blah, blah. But what they're saying is, I'd rather die than change. Yeah. Now, sometimes, it's good to have rebels, in society, people that don't conform and whatnot. And, it should never be a completely homogenous thing. But what I think was very interesting, when we were at a very severe stage of the virus and people were dropping like flies, a lot of people just like, I ain't going to change. Yeah. So it shows, actually, death, may not fear as much. Yeah. I mean, we don't want our loved ones to die and blah, 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 but we know it will come inevitably. Yeah. But my goodness, you ask someone to change, to change their attitude or change their life. What happens? We dig our heels in. Yeah. If we look at the environment and all the scenarios, all of the warnings about climate change and whatever, why is there still some dilly-dallying and all that stuff? Because of the changes it will bring. Yeah, we'll have to change our lifestyles, and it's difficult. We fear change, doing things differently. People like, oh, I don't want to give up my petrol car or diesel car for something that I have to plug in and charge up. Yeah, because it's unfamiliar. Yeah. But crisis is the friend of change. Now, that's not a quote. That's just come to me, yeah, as a download. Crisis is the friend of change. Yeah. Or necessity is the mother of innovation. That's a more common one. But I would say crisis is the friend of change, because it's often when we hit a crisis, that's when we're forced to what? Change. Yeah. And often we can sabotage a situation in order to prevent change coming. Yeah. We sabotage it. So if other forms of self-sabotage that I made notes of. So diet, yeah, food, eating the wrong foods, knowing knowing somewhere it's not good or will have adverse results. Yeah, we all know that one. Stuff that we shouldn't eat, or eating too much sugar, for example, or too much cake or ice cream or pizza, junk food. These things. Now, we need treats, yeah, to stay sane in life. But there is a difference between having the occasional treat and then knowing that you're overdoing something and then you keep going. Yeah. Then it becomes a form of what? Self-sabotage. Another form of self-sabotage is addictions. Yeah. Addictions. So, and I've put here, addictions are often a reaction to extreme forms of sabotage of the self. Yeah. In some way, not being able to forgive oneself for something. Some great opportunity that was passed up, or something wonderful that could have played out. Yeah, some kind of regret and knowing, oh God, I didn't step up. And sometimes that feeling can feel so awful, people want to smother it in some kind of way. Or addiction can happen where we struggle with feelings of being sabotaged or compromised by others. That's a very common one as well. Something traumatic happens in the life, or there's a deep betrayal. Yeah, there's a deep betrayal, or someone dies. Yeah, someone dies. Death can very often manifest as a form of sabotage as well, because the person's past and you've got to deal with all sorts. And this can be where addictions can play in, and ultimately addictions are forms of sabotage. Because why? Because they prevent growth. Yeah, addictions prevent growth because it's growing in many ways is a painful process. Yeah, because like we know, the truth hurts. Yeah, but it's better to embrace the truth and go through the growing pains and become bigger and stronger, rather than self-medicating or relying on addictions to numb certain feelings. And what happens is, this is why when people are addicted to things or whatever, life tends not to play out well. Yeah, because we can't act. There can be that element of being taken over by that addiction, which becomes the ultimate sabotage, doesn't it? I mean, if a person is turning up drunk or intoxicated to work, how long do you think you're going to be able to hold down and keep that job? Not very long. Ends up becoming a form of self-sabotage. People are not themselves when they're addicted to things, or maybe they might be on a come down and they start saying things, yeah, that, you know, they start saying things that are not good. Also as well, that's another one as well, isn't it? Which is harsh criticism. Yeah, not just I mean, because there's different forms of critique. I'm talking about harsh, destructive criticism. My God, that's one that really does a lot of damage to a lot of people. People can even develop addictions over that. Yeah, being very harshly critiqued. Bullying, of course, is another form of sabotage. Yeah. So we see it comes in many, many forms. So here we are. So about addiction. So addictions can often be numbing exercises for difficult or disturbing emotions. Drinking, drug taking, overeating, or excessive shopping can be one. Yeah. Too much exercise. Weirdly enough, that can be an addiction, and that can also be a form of self-sabotage as well, particularly if it comes with an eating disorder as well. Over exercising, under eating, form of sabotage. Yeah, affects the body. Even too much sex. Yeah, sex addiction, that's another form of sabotage. It can completely undermine people's lives. I was some friends of mine shared an article the other day of people doing inappropriate sexual acts, shall we say, while on Zoom meetings. Yeah? Who knew that Zoom could become a form of sabotage? People having a tryst with the secretary and the camera still running. Oh, man. There we go. So, and also as well, you know, too many things, scenarios like that can also lead to disease as well. STIs, stuff like that, you know. But a lot of this is to do with mask feelings of inadequacy, yeah? Or in the case of people being sexually provocative on Zoom calls or meetings, it can be about power. Yeah, sabotage has got a lot to do with power as well. The ability to be able to tear something down is a very powerful feeling. This is one that many people may not necessarily notice or think about, but turning up late. Yeah, more than 15 minutes consistently. I'm not talking about the occasional thing, because people can be late for all reasons. You know, they missed the bus or the blah blah blah. But when a person consistently turns up late, and particularly when they don't have an explanation, or they're just turning up late all the time, that's a form of sabotage. Why? Because it undermines trust. Yeah. Let me drink a bit more. I just got these what they call water drop things. It's like these capsules with sort of like vitamins in it. It makes the water a bit tasty. Anyway. So that's one, yeah? And it can lead to what? Missed opportunities, yeah? If you're constantly turning up late, you can be missing opportunities. So think of the person who constantly turns up late for a meeting, yeah? what happens? Everyone else has to try and bring them up to speed on what's transpired. Yeah. And that can be frustrating and annoying. And if that person turns up consistently late to meetings and you always have to update them on certain things, what are the chances of that person maybe winning a promotion, for example? Yeah. If a person is wondering why they've not been promoted or this, that, and the other, there can be so many different factors. But if a person is consistently late, that is one of the biggest things that can actually harm a person's career. It really can affect things. So say, like, for example, it's the morning. Yeah, I used to manage a lot of conferences before COVID, very early starts. You must be on time, must. And I remember there was one time I was 15 minutes late, 10-15 minutes late. Only once. Oh my goodness, the effect it had. The clients just didn't trust me immediately. Now, I won them over in the end, but it was such an awkward feeling because everyone was waiting. Yeah, everyone was waiting. You know, the such and such manager, or this, that, and the other, blah, 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 production, whole team. And it's just not a good look. But when, so, you know, and it was for a legitimate reason. I mean, I can't remember what it was now, but there was a reason why I was 15 minutes late, and I let people know in advance. It didn't matter. It still had that effect. So watch out for that one. If you're a person that is consistently late, or you know someone that is consistently late, it can be a form of self-sabotage or sabotage in general. And it does lead to missed opportunities. Another one is forgetting important or life-changing appointments, yeah, or important birthdays or anniversaries. Yeah, if someone consistently forgets your wedding anniversary, red flag. Yeah, we just know, red flag. A wedding is, getting married is a life event, and if a person consistently forgets the anniversary, you know, then that's a problem. Yeah, it means it's just not prominent in their mind. Now, does it mean that a person can never forget your anniversary? It doesn't mean they don't love you. No, of course not. But if it's something that consistently happens, or important, I'm talking about important things. So important dates, things that really are noteworthy. If a person forgets that or keeps forgetting those things consistently, it's a form of sabotage. Yeah, they're saying, it's like saying you don't care in a way. Yeah. Also, as well, and this might be one, is missing important flights. Now, all flights are important, but you know, there's some people that consistently miss flights. Yeah, it's a form of sabotage. And I've put here, when you or another were the direct cause. Yeah, so it could be things like waking up late or forgetting important documents or packing at the last minute on the day of the flight, can be forms of self-sabotage. Yeah, because if you imagine, now there are times where if you're fleeing a situation or whatnot, where people have to pack quickly, you know, on the day of the flight and get themselves, you know, you might be in a war scenario, or, you know, whatever it could be, or you have to escape someone. Yeah, maybe a horrible partner, or just neighbors or something. Yeah, there are times in our life where we have to pack. I'm talking about planned flights. Yeah, and if you've got a planned flight and your documents aren't all together, and your suitcase and all that stuff is not together on the day of the flight, hours before you're due, that is a form of self-sabotage, because we all know what we have to do. You pack the night before so that you stuff is covered. Another thing as well is leaving it too late, not giving enough time, thinking, oh, it'd be fine, I'll get there, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens? You miss the flight. Self-sabotage. Yeah. So these are just kind of common scenarios. Now, if I go on to another part of sabotaging others, and then we'll talk about good sabotage, to kind of, because there is such a thing. And then that will conclude the video. So, like I said before, sabotaging others, overly harsh criticism. I said it before, but this is a massive one. yeah, tearing people down with really negative comments, yeah. Think of all the nastiness that is shared and said on social media, yeah. These anonymous accounts, and what do? They throw out their bile and their poison, yeah. Sabotage. Why? Because they might feel jealous, yeah. Or, like I said, that person may be enjoying some kind of resource that they feel belongs to them, that they should have, or you shouldn't have that. I'm going to slate you, yeah? I'm going to make some kind of comment, yeah? So another one, of course, is saying things that are not true about others or situations. And again, going back to what? The big lie. This is one of the biggest sabotage moves that has ever been attempted in human history. Yeah, we still got people talking the BS, and part of the justification for, say, what's going on in Georgia, for example, is changing voting rules and regulations, and it's based on a lie, and the nation knows it. Wow. That is made. Think of all the people that have to be part of that sabotage, yeah? Maintaining the energy of that, yeah? This is a mass coordinated effort. And this is why we need to talk about these survival archetypes so we can understand what's going on. Society makes a lot more sense. Remember, sabotage is like a lot of fear of what? Change. This is why they're doing the voter suppression in Georgia. Why? Because they're trying to prevent what? A change. Them being what? Voted out. And rather than actually coming up with ideas and policies that people want, because they're actually devoid of ideas, it's like, right, we have to resort to what? Sabotage. January 6th, the insurrection, sabotage. Trying to prevent what? The change of a result. Yeah? And based again on what? The big lie. So obvious, isn't it, when we put it in that context? But we wouldn't necessarily say, oh, it's the archetype of sabotage expressing itself, yeah? Because of course sabotage comes in many different names, but when we think of the archetype, there you are. It's absolutely obvious. They were trying to prevent what? Ratification. Thankfully, Mike Pence managed to kind of find a bit of spine behind the back sofa and actually do the right thing, which you'll be thanked for. Obviously, there's other bits and stuff where he just carries on with the big lie or whatever, but nonetheless, there we are. And this will go on in terms of positive things that we can talk about as well. Another one, of course, is passing laws that disadvantage others, yeah? Or discrimination or racism, yeah? Discrimination and racism in all its forms is a form of sabotage, yeah? You're the wrong color. That's it. I'm not going to support you. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to call someone out to their face. You can just quietly deny that person an opportunity. Yeah, sabotage. Yeah, it's the same. Another one, of course, is discrimination. If we think of, for example, how often women have been discriminated, against for God knows how long. Yeah, that's a form of sabotage. Yeah. Spoiling your chances because of your gender, yeah, just because you're a woman, yeah. How often has that happened, yeah, to people and stuff like that? So we see sabotage is everywhere. So also as well, another one is locking people up, yeah. So if we think of Navalny, yeah, the Russian opposition guy. Now, of course, I did a video special on him, and I also pulled some archetypes for him because we're looking at the hero and the martyr, yeah, or the Messiah. Yeah, it was the martyr, I think it was, and he's obviously not in a great way, yeah. Like I said, he went back, and that was not a good move, yeah, because Black Widow, and we know who that is, wouldn't have Navalny be around, because what would that do? That would sabotage, yeah, his chances of what? Re-election, So for, Black Widow would look at Navalny and see him as what? A saboteur, yeah? Because what was he doing? Undermining Putanesca's reputation, exposing him, yeah? But this is where we can talk about good sabotage, yeah? And what I would say is, and I think this is really kind of stood up, and I said at the time, because I pulled cards on him on the time, and they weren't good. And actually, maybe that might be something I might actually do. Actually, it's just come to my mind. Actually, maybe I might actually pull some cards for Navalny just to see what's going on. But really, ultimately, when he went back to Russia, in my opinion, it was a form of self-sabotage, not self-sacrifice, self-sabotage, because he was winning, yeah, from the position that he was in. And I think that frightened him, yeah? And sometimes, again, if we think of one of the bases of self-sabotage is what? Fear. Fear of the changes it could have brought, yeah? Because he was being very successful. He embarrassed, Putanesca a lot, yeah? A lot. His sabotage was being very effective, and he actually could have carried on that from a safe distance, yeah, where, because remember they put what was it, Novichok or whatever, in his underpants, yeah, and they were like, we even put a bit extra to make sure that you would die. The fact that he escaped, he could have just got his family, out of there, but he put himself back in, because this is what can happen. We can sabotage when we fear change, because change was beginning to happen. Now that he's, locked away in some far-flung prison, and like I said, they would swap the Novichok for arsenic, just a drop every day in his food. I hope he's going to be all right, but the odds are against. The next we'll be hearing is that, he's not here anymore. And I know he's on food strike and stuff like that. Now, that might be a little bit of a digression there, but it's a prime example of how the saboteur can manifest, yeah? Also as well, another one is constantly lying or omitting the truth. Particularly omitting the truth is a subtle form of sabotage, yeah? Not quite allowing the full picture to be seen, yeah? That's another one. And not righting wrongs, yeah? Knowing that something's wrong or whatnot and not correcting it, yeah? Allowing something incorrect to perpetuate itself, yeah? Because it may either advantage you or disadvantage someone else. That's another form of sabotage. Dictatorship, of course, is another one. Sabotage is freedom for everyone. This is the one we should all pay attention to, is dictatorship. Because what dictators want to do? They want to control everything, control everyone, what you're doing, where you're walking, all your information, yeah? That's a form of sabotage, because what does it do? It sabotages one's freedom. Yeah, so again, it's about a balance. I'm not saying to everyone, don't wear a mask, whatever, because we know really that's not a big inconvenience, yeah, and it does more good than it does harm. But for example, if we look in Myanmar, for example, what's going on there, look at that form of sabotage. That's what, a dictatorship where the military have done a coup. Why have they sabotaged? Because they didn't like the results of the election. Yeah, so they know what? They've sabotaged it. Not only the results, they've literally taken over. And they're doing what? Sabotaging freedom. Yeah, if we could think as well about the insurrection and the big lie, massive forms of sabotage. And you know what that does as well, particularly when it comes in a country as influential as America, it emboldens others to sabotage as well. I think the big part of that Myanmar was that insurrection inspired a lot of people, yeah, not to lay all the blame there, but you know what I mean, had a huge influence, reverberated around the world. Now we also see what we see, Russia is also encroaching on Ukraine, yeah, and Rocket Man, in, a certain part of North Korea, testing. Do you see everything affects everything else. This is why it's so important that we have to be so mindful and aware of sabotage. Pollution as well is another form of sabotage as well, isn't it? Polluting the environment, messing it up, yeah? Deforestation. So you see, sabotage is everywhere. It's a massive part of the human psyche, and it's one of the elements that we most need to check in ourselves is sabotage of self and others. Now, finally, to wrap up, good forms of sabotage. One of the best forms of good sabotage is telling the truth. Yeah? One of the best forms of sabotage there is, telling the truth, because it ultimately frees everyone, but many don't like the taste. Yeah? That's what I put. The truth is the best form of sabotage, because what it does is it allows things to be seen clearly. This is why certain folks are holding on to what? The big lie to stop the truth, yeah? The reality being birthed. I mean, it's happening anyway. Reality coming in, but that is a big one. Telling the truth is one of the best forms of sabotage because it makes things clear, yeah? It defogs everything. Truth is really what the soul wants. Truth can elevate us to so many levels, and sometimes as well the truth can be an inconvenience. Yeah, this is very true, and this is why people do what? They go to the sabotage. Yeah, they lie instead. But why is truth an inconvenience? Part of the reason why truth can be an inconvenience for people is because it leads to change. And what is it that humans fear most, more than death? Is change. But change is necessary. Change is part of life. Change comes anyway, so one may as well embrace the truth. And when you embrace the truth, change becomes easier and more powerful. And one gains more than what is lost when it comes to truth. Also as well, another one is sabotaging evil and injustice. Yeah, so again, if we think of George Floyd and all that kind of stuff going on, if, what's his name? His name's just gone completely out of my head. Anyway, the officer that killed him. If justice is served, yeah, that will promote the development of a healing, yeah, justice, truth, yeah. We all know the truth. We all know what the truth is because we saw it on camera, yeah? And think of how that truth has reverberated around the world. Think of how that truth has changed people's perspectives on certain things, yeah? Because it was undeniable. People were like, wow, actually, this really is a thing, yeah? Because if it doesn't affect you, it's not a form of sabotage. If it doesn't affect you, you're just not aware, yeah? And that's what the truth does. The truth sabotages what? Illusions. And I've written here, sabotaging illusions and delusions is one of the best forms of sabotage, yeah? You can see what's going on. I mean, look at the delusion, that's going on in the GOP, or the delusion that's going on in Fox. You know what's sabotaging that? Lawsuits, yeah? Multi-billion-dollar lawsuits. Wow, that's one of the best ways to pop a balloon, isn't it? It's reality. Yeah, sometimes we really have to fight for the truth because defamation, yeah, is another form of sabotage. That's why these companies that produce the machines are doing the things, quite rightly, taking certain people to court, and they've got a good chance of rinsing them out. Because when your reputation has been sabotaged, it can be extremely damaging. Very difficult to build it back up. This is why you see it so often in politics. They do what? Smear campaign, yeah? I mean, some people they are the smear, yeah? As we have seen, like I said, this channel is for entertainment purposes only, but there's someone, a certain person is around the media, in the media a lot at the moment, who is trying to do what? Save their reputation, But their reputation is quite rightly being sabotaged by what? The truth. Yeah. So you see the double-edged sword when it comes to the saboteur. Yeah. Most of the time, unfortunately, in humanity, we tend to manifest there can be the manifestations on the negative side of it, particularly in governments and, dictatorships and stuff. But then there is the good side to the saboteur as well, which we should also embrace, which is the truth. Yeah. It's the best form of sabotage, because when we're dealing with the truth, we can deal with reality, we can make informed decisions, we can heal. So many things can happen. The truth is like bleach. Yeah. Cleans up. Yeah, gets rid of germs. Yeah. And this is why truth in media and truth in governments and truth in people and everyday circumstances are so important. This is why we shouldn't manipulate things. If we think, for example, on now going on another tangent, where certain famous people are manipulating their images on Instagram or Photoshop, for example, it's a form of sabotage. Why? Because although it can enhance things, make things look more appealing, what it does is it affects the self-esteem of others. Yeah, people looking through the magazines and stuff thinking, oh, I wish I could look like that. Yeah, think of all the damage that's done. Look at all of the surgery that is happening. Not to kind of critique it, I'm not against a bit of maintenance, as a form of self-esteem. But we've got very, very young people now going around literally changing themselves, changing their bodies based on an image that's not even real. Yeah, because it's been altered. Yeah, it's a form of sabotage. Absolutely. It's a way of not telling the truth. It's a form of lying. Yeah. And it leads people to believe in ideals or expectations that they can never live up to. Not even the person who is projecting the image can live up to their own image because it's photoshopped. Yeah. So, stuff like that. So the truth, ultimately, just to round up, is really the best form of sabotage there is. And use it often, every day. Yeah. Every day. Tell the truth. And now the way the truth is delivered, of course, it has to be delivered carefully, because of course the flavor is strong. Yeah, people don't like the flavor, but it's necessary. Yeah, because ultimately it leads to health. It cleanses things. The truth is a cleansing process. It's a purging process. It's a detox. Yeah, think of all the lies that are being told at the moment in the world. Yeah. And we can see what that is. The best antidote to that is truth. And that is the best sabotage of all. Yeah? Okay, so I will leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. I will do a video at some point on the Duke of Edinburgh, because obviously it's a big deal. His funeral's tomorrow, and I feel like he needs to be buried first. Before I do a video on him. I just feel, out of respect, because he's not been laid to rest yet. But I think he will have a very interesting chart. He's had a very interesting life. So I think that might be the next video, actually. And we can have a little look. And of course, because we were talking about Meghan and Harry, the other day, and, we can see how certain things blend in, because of course, Harry is going to have to attend the funeral. So let's hope they can bury the hatchet, yeah, and get over that one. So that will probably be the next video. And for those that follow Diane's Tarot, I will be on, for like her private members, the people that subscribed, I'll be talking about the archetypes there, and I'm probably going to start with the survival archetypes and go through them. And so I hope you enjoyed that video. I know I was talking about sabotage, but you know what? It has to be discussed, doesn't it? So much of it going on right now. And if you would like a consultation with me, then of course, feel free to visit my website, thearchetypalblueprint.com, and have a look there. Go to the section, go to the top right section, the top right tab, and it just says make a booking or something like that. It's in bold. It's not, it's easy to see. You can't miss it. Click on there, and then you'll see all the different things that I do. and where we can look at, you know, love, relationships, career, archetypes, money, all sorts of things. So much that gets discussed in the consultations. And again, just thank you so much to the people as well that book consultations with me. You guys are incredible, fascinating lives. Oh my God, so interesting. And so I'm glad, of course, to be back in the saddle and doing consultations again. In fact, oh my gosh, I've been wittering away. I've got a few more today. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much and see you soon. Cheers.